All right, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Untherapeutic. Man, I'm super excited. I'm super excited about this podcast episode because this is an issue that comes up so much in couples counseling. I was telling Quentin right before we had jumped on this recording how I've been waiting for some time to release this or to produce it because obviously, this is something that we can't escape in our relationships. And so you want someone who knows what they're talking about, who brings a tremendous amount of expertise to the table. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Quentin, tell everybody, about yourself, background, etc.
Well, first, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely.
But my name is Quentin R. Giles. I am a therapist. I'm a professor, and I am also a content creator. So I make content centered around the human trials and struggles of mandom and coupledom. So I feel like I'm perfectly situated to be here and have this conversation with you as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's when you start talking about relationships and mandom, he stays busy. Let me say that.
Yes, indeed.
There's no shortage of issues. So,
yeah.
Man, today we're talking about the issue of respect, specifically with men. We'll talk a little bit about women, obviously, but this comes up so much, and that is, man, the respect that men need. And so, before we even jump into it, man, how do you define respect for men? How do you define respect?
So I view respect as this framework or this thing. Let me make it simple. This thing that we operate out of that shows an inherent dignity and worth of the person that you're interacting with, right? So that's just basic respect. So if I see you as a full-fledged person and I believe that you have dignity as a person and that you have autonomy as your own self, then I operate out of that, right? So I don't try to put my stuff on you or make you do what I think you need to do, or I also don't think that you need to believe and think the way I do, right? I create space for us to be different, for me to have my views and values and for you to have your views and values, and not to either trample on those or make them a bad thing. They're just your thing.
You'll hear couples talk sometimes, specifically men will say, man, I felt disrespected. And so even taking that definition about dignity and worth in the heat of a moment, it's not that I don't think that you're worthy, but that doesn't mean that somebody can't say something where the other person doesn't feel like they're being disrespected. Why do you think men are so sensitive to respect and being respected?
Well, I think I think because men, this is going to be a hard word, maybe, are prideful, right? And pride is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We also take pride in, who we are, our appearance, all the things. But there is a certain level of pride that I believe that we all carry. And so if you take a dagger to that man's pride, or if you speak to him in a way that makes him feel smaller than how he perceives himself, then it is easy to find us on a road to where he feels disrespected or where he feels like you're trying to play him or you're trying to run over him. So I just think that we all kind of inherently embody that. And then I'm gonna go biblical a little bit because that's where I land. That's where I'm
absolutely.
at.
Absolutely.
I think that the way, the Lord has just built men in such a way that we're leaders, and leader doesn't mean good or bad. We've seen some horrific leaders and we've seen some great leaders.
We've seen some bad ones.
We've seen some really bad ones, but I do believe, the way that we're hardwired, we are on mission always. And so because of that didn't mean, because we're always on mission, that means, hold on, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You can edit, right? You gonna cut it?
You good, man.
Let me go back. So let me go biblical for a second. Wow, that's never happened. Let me go biblical for a second.
You're
So I
good.
believe that the way the Lord has set us up, that men are leaders, right? That
Mhm,
leaders can be good or bad. We've seen some very
mhm.
bad leaders and we've seen some very good leaders. But
Yeah.
since men are leaders, there's always this direction that men are going towards, right? And so the question is, what's leading him, and then where is he leading you? And so
Mm,
because of that, there's a lot of pride that encompasses and undergirds that. And so if you poke at that a little too hard, he can feel disrespected quite easily. So that's why I
mhm.
really think, we may have a little bit of a sensitive and emotional spot. We typically think as women as emotional, but we have an emotional spot towards that.
We do. So let me ask you this: how do you? Because this comes up, right? How do
Hmm.
you distinguish between being disrespected
Hmm.
and then being overly sensitive or
Yeah.
prideful in a negative way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a thin line. I could
Yeah.
say, "Man, you disrespected me," but I could also probably argue, "Okay, but you're being a little oversensitive."
Hmm.
Like, where do you draw that line between the 2?
Yeah. So I think that's a question for every man individually, actually, right? Because
Mm,
what I may be feeling disrespected by, you might not. Right. So
mhm,
that means a person has to be in touch with who they are and understand themselves and how they see the world. Right. So
mhm,
I would leave that question, or I would ask that question individually to each man that is trying to figure this whole thing out. As far as being overly sensitive, I thought about this earlier and I laughed because I have a friend that I would
mhm,
say is overly sensitive. I'm gonna
mhm.
choose my words carefully because that's my friend. I love him. I want the friendship after this.
Yes.
Um, the way I'm wired, a lot of things don't phase me, right? I'm kind
Mhm,
of most things can be like water off of a duck's back.
mhm.
My friend per se, I can not respond back on this phone, on this text, and they feel away. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yo, I have a family, I got kids. Like, it's not,
Man, job,
it's
business,
I got a
yeah, the whole
job,
time.
you know what I mean? It's not that I don't value this. It's just I'm not available in the way in which you're available. And because you have a history and context of rejection, me not
Mhm,
responding is putting you in an emotional state that really don't have anything to do with me.
mhm.
Now,
No.
now I'm a therapist and I can do a whole lot of work to unpack that.
Yeah.
And so whereas we don't have a lot of conflict because I know where it's coming from, that may not be the same thing for other folks. Um,
Mhm, mhm.
so to answer your question a little more succinctly as well, I think that that depends on each individual person and the dynamic in which they operate in.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think that it's different? Because, as you were saying that, I think about a lot of friendships that I talk to people about, and they'll be like, oh, he or she didn't respond back to me, and they were doing this on social media. And,
mhm.
normally I mean, it's all these different type situations. Do you feel like there's a difference between how men feel disrespected and how women feel disrespected by and large? I mean, obviously it depends on the individual, but
Right.
generally speaking, do you feel like it's the same or do you feel like there's some differences there?
I think that the wound after disrespect is the same for us. I think
Mhm,
that's probably where we find a lot of similarities, right? Because disrespect, when a person is disrespected, they may feel otherized, they may feel not wanted, not seen, not valued. They may feel hurt, they may feel accosted in some way, and that can kind of cut across the board. So you don't have to be
mhm.
male or female to experience that. I think the things that we would perceive as disrespect, I think that's where we find a lot of differences,
Differences,
right?
yeah.
So as for me, with me and the wife, we've had to go through and learn what are our top values. So like safety is number one on my list. So if
Mhm,
she does something that I deem is unsafe and we have a conversation about it, but she continues to do it, I may feel disrespected because for me, I view myself as the leader of our home. I'm trying to hold down the fort and I
mhm.
perceive that you are actively working against me, thereby disrespecting my authority, right?
Let me jump in. Let me ask you this,
Jump.
okay? Because it comes up. So a lot of times it's not that the other person is actively working against.
Right.
Sometimes they feel like they have a better way of going about it.
Oh, 100%.
How do you, or just in general, how would you
Yeah.
recommend people navigate that, right? Because
Yeah.
it can feel like, because in my mind, I'm like, this is the way it should go. And my wife may say, no, I think we should go this way. At
Yeah,
a certain point, I actually could feel as if she's disrespecting me,
right.
when in reality, she could be advocating for a way that
That's
she
better.
also feels is
Whew.
the best way.
So that's that. You know how people say, I know you've heard it, and you probably said it to your clients. Marriage is
Mhm.
hard work, right?
Yes.
That's that hard work piece. Because even in the previous
Mm,
example, like I was perceiving that my wife
mm.
was acting against me. That's how I felt, and I ain't gonna hold you. I acted out of that because that's what I
Yeah, yeah,
perceived.
straight
But
up.
the truth is, she wasn't, right? So we had to
Mm.
do, I mean, it cuts through. We had to do a lot of hard work in hearing each other. So, where's the feelings and emotions, Will? Let's bring it out because I feel this. I'm feeling this right now.
When you said this.
Yeah, when you said this came up for me,
Mhm,
right? And then and a lot of recounting of what do you hear me say, right? And
mhm,
also being I had to get more aware as to
mhm,
why, in this specific example, why was that bothering me so much? Because
mhm,
really, this concern that I have is undergirded with fear. I'm
mhm.
scared something is going to happen, so I'm trying to do everything I can to keep us safe. But
Yeah,
that's a lot of hard work in communication. That's a lot of
yeah,
hard work
and
in
it's on both
self-reflection.
sides
Both
too.
sides, both sides,
Yeah,
and then I still have to be able to communicate it to her
mhm,
that that this is the thing that's actually driving me. And then even on her side, it's a lot of hard work for her to say, she could either be like, well, that's stupid. What you scared about? You can't control it anyway. And or as my husband, it's a concern of yours. I see how it impacts you. I'm gonna try to meet you there. So I mean, it's work happening
yeah,
everywhere.
it is. It
Yeah.
really is. What about, I always tell people, man, relationships are a skill.
Yeah.
Relationships are a skill, and sometimes there are certain skills that we received growing up and certain skills that we didn't receive
Yes, sir.
growing up. When it comes to respect, do you feel like this is something that you had to see, or do you feel like this is one of those basic human,
Hmm. Yeah.
like being honest? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. I
like I
got you.
shouldn't have to teach you to be honest.
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, some people, right? Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
fundamentally,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If someone
Yeah.
feels like they have to start at the basis of
Yeah.
honesty versus telling the truth,
Sure.
then
Sure.
do you feel like that's the same with respect? And
I
if someone hasn't seen it modeled, what do you recommend that they do to learn?
Yeah. Now, unless this is just a person, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it because I'm trying to make a funny. I don't know how it's gonna land. Unless this is just a person who had been diagnosed with ODD when they were
Mhm.
younger,
Yeah.
then I'm more inclined to believe that we all have an understanding of what basic respect is, right? If you
Yeah.
can, if you can go to that job and hold your tongue, hold your mule, as the old saints say, then that
Mhm.
means you have the capacity to do the same thing in your personal life. Now it may be more difficult, right? Because you get
Mhm.
to take the mask off, but you do have the capacity for that to be a transferable skill. So I do think that we do all have a baseline understanding of what is and is not respectful. But I
Mhm.
do think that there is work that has to be done for you to understand the intricacies of your partner to find out what specifically may make them feel disrespected because it could not be the normal baseline. Black folks, if you from a particular area in the South, when you walk in the room, you speak.
You speak, yeah,
You
straight
speak,
up.
right?
And if you don't,
That's
that's disrespectful.
is disrespectful. Now, when I go up north, that's not even a thing. It's like
Mm,
not a thing, but it culturally, that is us down here in the South. So,
yeah.
we understand that, but if someone is implanted who doesn't, they may share, similar ethnic identity, but they don't share necessarily all of the cultural aspects, then that's an opportunity that we have to teach them what we do and don't like and how we feel
Mhm.
about those things. It goes back to that hard work.
But going back to the work example,
Yeah.
because obviously people show up differently in their professional world than they
Yeah.
do personally. And one of the biggest, and I agree with you. I mean, if you can do it at work, that means you have capacity.
Yeah.
The issue sometimes is people feel justified in their disrespect.
Hmm.
I wouldn't have been disrespectful had you not done
Yeah.
this. Do
Hmm.
you ever feel like there's a legitimate reason to be disrespectful?
It's a hard no for me.
Okay.
It's a hard no. Do I feel like we could talk about it and I would understand why you were disrespectful? Yes,
Mm,
all day long, because your feelings are your feelings, right?
mhm,
If I do something to you, or your boyfriend do something to you, your girlfriend, your wife, whoever, and you feel a way, those are yours. I can't debate those because they're yours. But when we move into disrespect, now we're talking about an action that a person is taking, and you can only be responsible for your actions. My
mhm.
wife could piss me off to high heaven. I still get a choice if I'm gonna respond
Yeah.
in a way that maybe keep the conversation light and tight, or
Mhm.
I'm about to take it to hell,
Yeah.
right? But ultimately, she could never make me do anything. I still have the choice. I could be triggered. I could be really upset by what she did or what she said, but the action after that is mine. So no, I don't believe that there's ever a
Mm,
scenario where a person has license, if you will, to be
mhm,
disrespectful to a person, because I just innately believe everyone has a certain value and dignity attached to them. But I
mhm.
can understand why you would want to and why you
Yeah,
did. I just don't think
absolutely.
you got the right.
This book, Love and Respect, he talks about unconditional love. And if you were to stand up and talk about, man, you need to love your spouse unconditionally, no one in the audience
Hard.
is really going to push back on that.
Yeah.
But then when you say unconditional respect, there's
hmm
almost this hesitation, like, it depends.
It depends.
You know what I mean? And if love is to a woman what respect is to a man, then I think it's fair for us to say that both
Yeah.
should be given unconditionally. And again, if
100%.
you feel like you can't love the person you with unconditionally or respect the person you with unconditionally, then we may need to have a different conversation. You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
And I mean, what is your definition of love?
Mhm,
Because if we can all agree that respect is treating a person with dignity and value, wouldn't you do that to a person you loved?
mhm.
So
Very
so then
true.
your love is conditional.
Mm,
I,
yep.
it's just there's layers there.
It is. It is. It is. And I think sometimes it's so important for people to explore those layers outside of when they're emotionally activated.
Yeah.
You see
Oh,
what I'm saying?
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Because if we're just having a conversation about it, objectively, people would say, "Yeah, you're right, man, 100%." But
hmm
then when they get triggered, again,
hmm
it's almost as if sometimes we open the door or we give that person a pass to
hmm
say and do whatever. You know, the issue though, another issue that comes up is people aren't even cognizant of when they're being disrespectful.
hmm
Or they don't even agree that what they said or did was
Yeah.
disrespectful.
Interesting.
And so if I were disrespecting you, I would have an issue. But because I
Yeah.
don't believe that what I did was
Yeah.
disrespectful, I
Yeah.
think it's a you issue and not a me issue.
Uh-huh.
How
Yeah.
do you navigate that?
Yeah. 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 Particularly with I love this because I mean I see it a lot, right?
Mhm.
Um, particularly when I'm working with couples, married folks. I
Mm,
have this ideology that I give them, and I'm gonna get this to the audience too, because I just think it's true.
mm,
So, and it can go to boyfriend, girlfriend too. You don't get to decide that you're a good husband.
mm,
Okay. So let me take it inward. Let me explain what I mean by that. I am not the only person in my marriage. I'm
mhm,
just 50% of the equation.
mhm,
So if I give myself 100 and my wife gives me a 0, my average is 50. I failed.
mhm,
In the same way, she doesn't get to decide that she's a good wife.
mm,
It's two people in this equation, right? So
mhm,
that means there has to be a coming together of serving one another, showing up for how each other wants that person to show up,
mhm.
right? Because I'm not just a husband, I'm her husband. So very specific, right? So
Yeah.
how do you receive love? How do you receive respect? How do you feel affirmed? Not this
Mm.
general broad idea of what
Of
love and respect is. I
mhm,
didn't marry a general broad person. I married a very specific person, as
mm,
did she. So in that same framework, if that's the case, like you can't decide that you are or are not being disrespectful if the other person is telling you I feel disrespected.
mhm. I agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. And you see so many couples waste time
My
debating
gosh. My gosh,
what
today.
is true for the other person. And I always say this, I always say this. I'm like, listen,
Yes.
if I say that, man, what you're saying was disrespectful, or if you say that what I did hurt your feelings, just meet me there. Don't,
That's
well,
it.
I would like
That's it.
it, because you're not going to convince me to feel different than how
Correct.
I already felt.
Correct.
Unless I'm missing information or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I didn't realize that. But 9 out of 10 times,
Mhm.
how I feel is
Mhm.
essentially how I
It's still
feel.
there. Especially
Yeah.
even with that information, that context, right? Even if you give me
Mm,
all the world of the context, if the infraction point still
mhm.
hits me, I still feel away.
Yeah.
So
So
how are you
true.
trying to reason it away? And if you love me, going back to that love earlier, if
Mhm.
you love me, then why wouldn't you meet me in my place of hurt? But that's because
Mm.
I believe people don't like to feel like they the bad guy. And
Yeah.
that's where that deflection comes in. Because if
Mhm.
I have to own the fact that I was disrespectful to you, that means something else, right? To you, you're envisioning, I'm just throwing ideas out there. I don't know.
Mhm.
You're envisioning, seeing your mother being disrespectful, your father, and I'm not that, right?
Yeah.
So I know I couldn't have possibly done that to you. You don't want to be the bad person, but most likely, most people are not trying to make you the bad person. Now, there's some that are.
Again, there's always going to be an exception. We're not even
Okay,
talking to
always an
people that,
exception, right?
yeah.
But most people are not trying to make you the bad guy. They're trying to get atonement for the thing that they said you did to them. They're trying to
Mhm.
stay in relationship with you,
Yep.
but you don't want to be the bad guy and or are so bullheaded that you won't come
Mhm.
and meet them. The person you love, by the way, I got to keep throwing that in there. The
Yeah.
person you
Yeah.
love
This
won't
is
meet them in their hurt.
so let's say that you are being disrespected. You can say man
Mhm.
or woman, whatever.
Yeah.
And you come to your partner and you say, hey, what you said, what you did, I felt like that was disrespectful.
Hmm.
And they say they recognize it. Say they say, okay, I don't think it was disrespectful, but I won't do it again. Okay. And then say they do it again.
Hmm.
Okay.
My
How do
gosh.
you how do you really respond? Like in a real way.
In a real way.
In a real
Well,
way. Because okay, let me throw this in there just to add a layer.
yeah.
You married, you got kids.
Hmm.
And so the reason why I throw that in there is because a lot of times we'll say, well, just leave.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the easy, like, oh, okay,
It's
just
so
let
easy.
it's so
It's
easy. But
it's
let's
so easy.
say now again, and let's say it's not all the time, but
Sure.
it's enough to make you not really feel safe showing up
Yeah.
authentically because of
Yeah.
how this person responds. What do you
Hmm.
recommend to them?
Immediately, you got to find you some good counsel. You got to
Mm,
find you a good therapist because what's happening is you're not being heard, right? And i don't
mhm.
i don't think that's a really good place for men or women to be. Nobody wants to feel like they're married to someone and they're not being heard, or you don't see me, or you don't
Mhm.
see the harm that you're causing me. Men don't like that either, right? We
Yeah.
may not vocalize it as much. It's going to come out in other ways, but men don't like that either. And so if you've gotten to that point, you need to find a therapist. And if I could just be I live my life, transparently. Uh the wife and I, we were there not too long ago. We
Mm.
were there where, I,
Brother, like,
I look,
I feel disrespected,
you know what I'm saying? Look, I'm trying to watch my words. I still gotta be married
Yeah,
after this,
yeah, you still gotta be married. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
but
Don't let me
where
get you in trouble. I'm just asking questions.
yeah.
Yeah.
But where I felt like you're just not getting it, right?
Yes.
And we thankfully we have a couple therapists,
Mhm.
and she was able to help give my wife language maybe that she couldn't. Now I'm a therapist. I think I communicate quite well, but okay,
Mhm,
cool.
mhm,
But
mhm.
she was able to give language to what it was that I was experiencing and kind of frame it in a way to where she could receive it, right?
Yeah.
And she even made me think about, emotional abuse in a different way, right? That
Mm.
was one of the things that she brought up. And she was like, most people believe, emotional abuse is like this very harsh thing. But if your husband is coming in telling you, like, hey, I don't like X, Y, and the Z, or when this happens, it makes me feel a way, and you don't acknowledge the thing that he's bringing you, but
Mhm.
then either make an excuse or try to provide context, or because you don't understand it yourself is not a thing, you are actually being abusive because you're
Mhm.
not tending to the needs that he is actually bringing you. Not that he in the corner drinking away and not talking about, but that he's
Yeah.
actually bringing you. So the way she was able to frame that, I said, "Ooh, now, sis,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
have to,
good.
yeah, I'm gonna take that for myself, you know."
Yeah, no, straight up,
And
straight up.
so,
And you know
yeah,
something else too, and I'm glad you bring this up because we talk about disrespect as if it's always overt.
yeah,
But the truth of the matter is, I
hmm,
could just consistently ask you to do something. I could express that something's important,
yeah,
and you could politely just not do it. And
yeah,
I'm going to feel disrespected in that.
100%, 100%.
It's like, man, how many times I brought this up and I said this is important,
Hmm.
and you're just going to feel, and it's interesting, just like you said earlier, you know, the pain point is very similar. Now, what causes that is going to be different, but the experience and the
Yeah,
feeling that we have, because you'll hear a wife say, "Man, I've been telling you over and over, you're not doing it, you're not getting it.
right,
You'll do it, then you're inconsistent." She
correct.
may not say you disrespected me, but she may say, "Man, I don't feel seen."
Yeah,
You know what I'm
100%.
saying? Whereas a brother gonna say, "Man, you disrespected me." But
Yeah,
at its core, it's the
the
same
same
kind of,
thing,
it's the
same
same
thing,
thing.
same thing, same thing.
I'm gonna go a different direction, man. So think about someone who's dating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what behavior do you
Mm-mm.
think women can't respect? Okay, and
Oh,
and I don't mean the obvious. You see what I'm saying? But
oh,
like,
okay. I'm like, whew.
yeah, not the obvious. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But like, what are some things that you're seeing as a therapist
Hmm.
that when men do this, women have a hard time respecting?
You know what? This one may be it may be a little obvious on its face,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna try to go deeper, right? I think inconsistency is the biggest thing
Mm,
because inconsistency cuts through in many factors, right? So if we want to talk honesty, which is extremely obvious, right?
mhm,
There is
yeah.
an inconsistency issue
Mm,
in what you're telling me, right?
hmm.
Um, how you show up, how you tell me you're gonna show up versus how you actually show up, whether that's in word, whether that's in deed, whether that's emotionally, physically, whatever that is. If it is not a pattern that proves to be safe, secure, loving on the other end, that's a problem. It's hard to
Hmm.
respect a man who has no bond to his word.
Mm,
I don't
hmm.
even know if I could be safe with you. I don't know if I
Yep.
want to reproduce children with you. I don't know if I
Hmm.
want to take your last name. Like there's no safety there. Um, so I just think inconsistency is hard to. I think women have a hard time respecting a man, even in job prospects. I understand the economy is hard. It's real hard. I get it. So I'm not even trying to beat up on a brother. It's hard. It is. But there's a difference in, struggling through uncertain economic times and not being able to hold any type of employment,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
There's an inconsistency there, right?
Yeah.
Particularly in my context, we go to church.
Hmm.
There's an inconsistent. You say you're a Christian, and we can hoot and holler on Sunday, but the way you treat me and then you live the life Monday through Saturday, it's inconsistent.
It's
So
inconsistent.
it's
Absolutely.
it's inconsistent. So that inconsistency cuts through all the way, and I find that women have a very difficult time trusting, respecting, believing,
Mm,
being with. Well, they'll
mhm.
be with them, but feeling safe into being with a
It's
man
totally
that's
different.
inconsistent. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same thing for women. What do you feel like something women do that men have a hard time respecting? But before you answer that, man, you spot on with the inconsistency. I was telling a good friend of mine this. I'm like, you see all this stuff online, and we talk about this and vulnerability, and I'm like, I'm not saying that stuff isn't important because
Hmm.
it is. I
Yeah.
said, but what I hear more is follow through. Just be a
Yeah.
man that just executes on what you say.
What you say.
That will get you so much further.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because again, you can cry, you can have all the words,
Mm-hmm.
but just be someone that I can trust that if you say you're gonna do this, you're gonna actually do it.
You're gonna do it.
Or you're gonna bust your tail to try to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Or if you've gotten to the end of your rope and you've tried and it didn't work, you
You
don't
just
try
say
to
it.
flummox, say it. Don't try
Man,
to
I tried.
flummox,
Boom, boom,
you know what I
boom. Yep.
mean? Trying to
Mhm.
create an alternative universe. Say it. She might be able to help.
Yeah, probably will. Probably
Pro-
will. Probably
more
probably knew you weren't on the
correct.
track to being successful
Correct.
a year
Correct.
ago.
Correct.
Just didn't want to say anything.
Correct. Correct.
But
100%.
what would you say for women though?
Man, I was still thinking as we were talking because I'm like, what is it? What's the thing that women do that men have a hard time respecting?
Respect.
You know what? I think I don't have a cute way of saying it, but beating up on him, her
Mm-hmm.
mouth,
Yep.
the way she speaks to him. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean you supposed to coddle him like you his mom. I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about using words in such a way that cuts against his manhood, that cuts against who he believes he is. Um, I sometimes I don't know if women know how powerful they actually are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand why they wouldn't know based on the patriarchy and how we just have stuff set
Yeah.
up. Um, but speaking to a man as if he's a boy, speaking to a
Mm-hmm.
man as if he is nothing, as if he is less than,
Mm-hmm.
is probably one of the quickest ways for him to remove all of his love and respect for you. He'll still be with you too.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Mm-hmm.
crazy part. I don't know. Oh,
Yeah.
we're not supposed to say that word no more. I'm sorry. That is the interesting part.
Yep.
He'll stay with you.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
but that is a surefire way for him to remove his love, his care, his he may still provide financially, but like his heart mind provision, right?
It's somewhere different.
It's gonna
And
be
and
somewhere
I've
else.
seen this on both extremes. You'll still show up,
Mm-hmm.
you'll still technically do the things that you're quote supposed to do,
Correct.
but it is hard to show up 100%
Yes.
when one, this person isn't who they say they are, they aren't
Mm-hmm.
consistent,
Mm-hmm.
or two, man, they belittle you
Yeah.
and tear you down. It doesn't even have to be a lot. It could just be
Mm-hmm.
periodically. It
Mm-hmm.
come up when they're upset, they're mad, things don't go their way,
Yeah.
because it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah. It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn, man, I appreciate you. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Where can people find you online?
Oh man, you can find me at Quentin R. Giles on Instagram, TikTok, or you can visit my website, www.quentinrgiles.com.
Absolutely, man. We're going to put this in the show notes, but then also listen, Quentin has some amazing content. So anybody out there that's looking for some well-rounded, balanced
Thank you.
relationship and just personal growth, mental health, I definitely encourage you to follow him. He's great, man. He is who he says he is, and so I appreciate
Thank
you,
you, brother.
man, being a guest
Absolutely.
on the podcast, man. Everybody, make sure you follow us, like us on untherapeutic.com.